Hello everyone, good morning, welcome back. This is Divya Kawatra, your educator. How are you all doing? Hi everyone, good morning, very good morning. I hope you all are doing good, yes? All right. Let's begin our today's session. So we meet again to discuss today's newspaper, that is 3rd of August, and we'll be starting the session with our first news. But before that, if you're joining for the first time, let me tell you that we meet every day from Monday to Saturday live at 8:30 a.m. to discuss the Hindu newspaper, PIB analysis, as well as question banks from the previous class session. All right. Yeah, let's begin on that note with our first news, shall we? Are you all ready? Yes? All right. The first news that we have is Bhiwani bags 5 of India's 7 boxing golds at Commonwealth Games. How many? 5 of India's 7 boxing golds. That's quite an achievement, isn't that? Right? That's quite an achievement, and let's talk about that. Historic CWG performance. This is historic CWG performance. Why so? Because India has achieved its best ever boxing performance. This is India's best ever boxing performance. Is that right? Yeah. Best ever performance at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, winning 10 total medals including 7 golds. Bhiwani's dominance was there. Boxers from Bhiwani, Haryana, often called the mini Cuba. What do they call it? The mini Cuba of India, won 5 of 7 gold medals, right? What is Bhiwani? It is not a name of the person, it is a place, Bhiwani in Haryana. Alright, please remember that. Who are the gold medalists from Bhiwani? Sakshi Chaudhary, Preeti Pawar, Jasmine Lamboria, Priya Ganges and Sachin Sivach. Not only has Bhiwani dominated, women have also dominated. Can you see that? Not only has Bhiwani dominated, we can also see women have largely dominated here. Yes? Good morning, very good morning everyone. Alright, is that clear? Next we have other gold medalists who are gold medalists but not from Bhiwani. Not from Bhiwani, that is Ankush Panghal and Arundhati Chaudhary. Ankush Panghal and Arundhati Chaudhary. Who are the silver medalists here? Narendra Berwal, Jadumani Singh and Lavlina Borgohan. Right? Yes. These are the people who won. What were the drivers of success? Like how come India had such a great success? And this is quite an achievement for India, quite an achievement for the players as well. So what happened? Number 1, new selection policy. Following the Players Backlash and Sports Authority of India intervention, now Boxing Federation of India scrapped its subjective point-based assessment system. That's why a lot of people were allowed to enter who were able to perform really good, right? Earlier system actually filtered a very good pool of talent. Now the new system is including them and allowing them to fight and finally allowing them to win. Now open trials are there. BFI switched to open public trial based selection with neutral judges. So selection is based purely on merit rather than rapport with the coaches, right? Nepotism and all these accusations were placed on, and because of that a free and fair trial has been done. And in that, a lot of people who might have gotten out of it took part and ultimately brought us the gold, right? Yeah, the Bhiwani Boxing Club, the head coach Jagdish Singh credited these transparent trials for letting the best boxers shine, right? He also said that because of these transparent trials, a lot has changed. Does that mean we need similar transparent trials for other sports also? Like, should we do the same for cricket? Should we do the same for other Olympic games? Should we do the same for a lot of other sports activities that are going on in the country? Right. This proves that you through your report, through your personal connections, through the nepotism that follows the path, you might have been avoiding such a great pool of talent in India from even playing in the ground, right? And now, once they have been allowed, look at what they have done. This would have been achieved years and years ago had we been transparent, had our trials been transparent. That would have changed the history. But anyways, there's a saying, der aaye durust aaye, so it's fine, better late than never. So we are here. Then local support and discipline, amongst that it was highlighted by Priya Gange's father, who credited her success to dedication and a traditional Haryana diet, that is churma, kheer, curd and milk. Just look at that. People keep saying no fat, no dairy, protein powders and creatines and whatnot. Keratins, not creatins. Yes, but then at the same time, point out of a sadness because there was no northeastern part included in. That is really sad. Obviously, that is really sad. Okay. Now just understand that what is the diet here? Kheer churma. She's been highlighting her diet, and that is kheer churma. Just imagine where people are saying that, okay, no sweets, no nothing like that, and she's saying, oh, come on, just do it, right? Because you know what is happening in India, this also highlights one other problem in India, that is the food consumption, right? The food consumption patterns, this highlights India's food consumption patterns. Why? Because we are blindly following the patterns of other countries, right? We see that, okay, people are doing this in US, this must be right. People are doing this in France, Germany, Japan, this must be right. In Korea, this must be right. No. It is according to their own environment, their climate, their requirements, their genetic structures. That is why it is good for them. Try eating that much amount of rice in your life. I know you would say that UP, Bihar, MP, these areas still have, large consumption of rice. Do rice varieties vary or are they same in India or the central part of India and Japan, Korea? They're not, right? They eat that sticky rice. Do we do that? No. The diet structure varies for everybody. But we are not able to understand that. That's what this has brought into news. That's what this has brought our attention to, that by eating kheer churma, while everybody is quitting sweets, while everybody is, like no more sugar in our diet and everything, this is what they're eating. The diet that is giving their bones the strength, right? So it is according to our own structures, our own genetic structures, our own climate, that we should understand what kind of food we are to eat, right? That is how we make a change into that. So this has really struck a debate. This statement has really struck a debate, that what kind of food are we feeding our children? Whether it is really good or is it just good on Instagram, right? Alright, moving on to the next news, that is Lepidoptera hotspot. India is home to 8.25% of the world's butterflies and moths. This has brought into news the global share that India is home to 8.25% of the world's total Lepidoptera butterflies, that is butterflies and moths. Okay, total species 13,703 species have been documented for moths as well as for butterflies. Taxonomic hierarchy, if we say, they're distributed across 3,705 genera. Night pollinators are there, and it includes 2,200 approximately species of the nocturnal pollinators who pollinate at night. Okay, who pollinate at night. They don't require sunlight, they don't require the daylight. They pollinate at night, representing 8.8% of the total superfamily, right? Yeah. Why is this important? A research and publication. There was a publication called the Catalogue of Lepidoptera, that is butterflies and moths of India. This was published in peer-reviewed journal, that is Zootaxa. Okay, we have this journal from where we get really authentic information regarding our species, and in that Zootaxa, this has been said that this is the current situation. The lead researcher here was Navneet Singh and Rahul Joshi from the Zoological Survey of India. They came forward and they started doing this research. They took 12 years on field exploration to actually maintain this data. This data is not just that, okay, it is data, it is available, no. It took them 12 years to actually maintain this data, to actually research on this data and finally come up with the final numbers, right? They've done so long of a research, they catalogued it, literally they defined it, verified it, and it obviously brings critical taxonomic gaps that persisted for over 100 years. For over 100 years, a taxonomical gap was there. We were not able to tap the species, right? Now finally, after 12 years of research and after hundreds of years of lack of data, somebody started the research, they did it for 12 years, and now we have the final data. That is quite something. This is the data we didn't have for 100 years. The data that we see, it is not just data, it is something that we did not have for 100 years, and now finally we have the availability of this record. Alright? Yeah. The ecological role here is it serves as the butterflies or moths. They serve as herbivores, detrivores, and kill pollinators also while acting as a primary food source. Conservation assets are there according to Xerosite Director Drishti IAS. The baseline inventory has given us species with legal identity. Now an authoritative voice can be created so that there is a global conservation. Otherwise, just imagine India going and saying, okay, we need to conserve butterflies. So they'll be like, oh, what is happening to butterflies? Oh, that we don't know. So how many are they dead? No, that we don't know. How many are left? That we don't know. We had no data, we had no answers. How would we go about asking the global countries to actually participate in their conservation? Do you understand the problem here? Yes? Do you understand the problem? Very good morning, everyone. Very good morning. Yeah. So that's why this data is very, very important. After hundreds of years, somebody put an effort of 12 years and then finally gave us this data. That is how we can now have a conservatory asset, because now we can talk about their conservation because we have the data. Earlier we were not allowed to talk about it. Is that clear? Yes, do we understand that? Yeah. Moving on to the next news, there are strong health systems for all with better public spending. The two editorials among the bigger editorials that we have, one was still on student protest, how student protest is shaping and how there was a history of student protest, right? So it was something that we have already discussed many a times, and if you like, you can still give it a read. For sure you can give it a read. It has some historic examples that are cited there, that is good. But other than that, the article was so-so. Okay, we've discussed that multiple times, so I didn't think we should do that. This one, however, caught my attention. Why? Let me tell you. What they're talking about is they're saying that strong health system for everybody with better public spending. That means you are not just creating health system, you have to have better public spending also on that. Otherwise, creating this health system won't matter. And that is such a beautiful paradox that is drawn in the article, saying that no wonder you are doing a lot in the healthcare system. You have created so many Anganwadis, you have created such an excess of vaccination. Absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. But at the same time, if you don't keep spending more to it, there will be no development. This is just the bare minimum that you had to do as a government. Now it is time to do some more public spending so that you give us better than what we already have, right? How do you make it better? We'll understand that one by one, as is our trend, through mind map. Clear? Shall we do that? Then a bureaucratic statement like intent important hai, numbers nahi, we can expect. I know that happens. Do not marketing food is used for health is very bad. Exactly. We'll discuss one by one what is good, what is bad, and what is happening. If it is not clear, don't worry, you'll get it in the PDF. Just understand for now what I'm saying. Listen to that. Okay. Number one is current state of public health financing. What is the current state right now that we have? Right. Right now, we have health organizations, LMICs, that spend only about half of the recommended minimum of UHC. Okay, UHC is a health commission under World Bank. Alright. They have created a minimum limit as to how much you should spend, or how much every country should be spending on maintaining health in their arena. And amidst that, the LMICs, that the companies working in India, the commissions working in India, they are only spending about half of the recommended minimum. They have given minimum limit, okay, not a maximum, minimum limit, and even of that minimum limit we are only spending half, right? Even that is not met, even the minimum requirement is not met, we are only spending half of it, not even less by 10% or 20%, totally half of it, right? Even less than half, not more than it. India spends 2% of GDP on public health, we all know that, right? That is below many developing nations. Of course, it is below developed nations, but that 2% of GDP is even below other developing nations also, right? Yeah. And then finally, high out-of-pocket expenditure and heavy dependence on private healthcare, right? Private healthcare is something that is running the healthcare system in India. Otherwise, it would have been chaos. There would have been chaos, because you know, a lot of concerns were raised even in global standards when we discussed the Indian healthcare system. A lot of concerns were raised, and one of those concerns was, how can you allow reservation in medical field? This is going to be the next motto of the population of India, and trust me, this will require change. This will require change, because administration is something that you can teach through practice. Administration is something, you know, study, colleges, giving them reservation for admission in college, that is very good. You allow them to have that education, you allow them to reach to the level of that education, that is very good. But after that, the moment they get educated, everything should be judged based on that education. You have allowed them to have same level of education. After that, why do you need to give them that reservation? Isn't that like you're saying you don't have to study as hard? And while that is fine in every other field, maybe, I'm not saying definitely fine, maybe it can be adjusted in every other field. Medical field is something where this cannot be adjusted, because having lesser marks means lesser knowledge, as simple as that. And if you have lesser knowledge, that means you are not going to perform well on field. Then the cases like, you know, death during C-section and all these keeps happening. So this was raised, this is not a personal opinion, please don't go all political on it. This is an opinion highlighted by the global platforms on India. They have been criticizing India for this, saying that how can you allow reservation in the selection in the medical field? Obviously, that is putting the life of people at risk, because when you give reservation, that means seats are reserved. That means their cutoff is different. If the cutoff is different, like in any other government exam, if you'll see, the cutoff goes very different, right? 10 marks, 20 marks difference. That means those 10 questions, let's say there was a difference of 20 marks, those 10 questions were something that they did not need to know. That even if they don't know, they will still get selected. Right, that chunk of students that is given reservation, even if they don't know about that part of it, they will still get selected. Now, how are you expecting them to perform surgeries? How are you expecting them to open up clinics and actually serve people with half that knowledge? Some fields really require expertise. Giving reservation in the college seats is very much welcomed. We're not going against reservation here. The global standards that set and criticize India for it clearly say that while you are giving reservation for college admissions, that is beautiful. You should give everybody the equal opportunity to reach there. But once they have reached there, their knowledge is what should matter. right? Even after that, there are certain provisions. I'm not saying there is direct reservation. Obviously, there are different protocols, but even after that, there are structures available, right? Yeah. So this is a global criticism that has come towards India multiple times on every health platform wherever India has sat down, right? Is that valid? Do you think this is valid? Is it a valid argument? Yeah. Secondly, there's a declining international health aid also. There is a decline in international health aid. Why? The international health aid that includes grants, technical support, medical supplies, everything. Major providers of this are USA, UK, Germany, France, World Bank is there, and then a Global Fund, etc. Clear? Now post COVID-19, the fiscal deficits, everybody faced fiscal deficit. Because of that, aids have been cut. USA cut down aids, UK cut down aids, France, Germany, they've all cut down aids. That way they are impacting the larger missions like TB, HIV AIDS, maternal health, immunization, everything is getting impacted because of that, right? And obviously if we are dependent on aid, anyway we have domestic constraints. That is not a shocking news that we have domestic constraints, because obviously if we have a need for international aid, that means our own funds are lacking, right? There is increase in the proficiency also. Then there is increase in the spending also. Government is also facing competition regarding that, and in that competition we are not able to do much better, and at the same time they have competing priorities also. Budget should be given to infrastructure, defense, education, agriculture. It should be given to everything. So at that point we are not able to increase the budget that is required here, right? Yeah. And if we don't do that, then naturally we have 3 ways to improve the health outcomes despite that. What are the 3 ways? Spend the entire allocated budget, number 1. Right now the budget is anyway low and we are not even spending the entire of it, right? The budget is anyway low, and we are at the same time, when we should be extracting every last ounce of it, we are still not spending all of it. That means we are not working on all that is required, and if you are not working on it, how do you expect to improve? Simple. Secondly, spending on right priorities, right? You spend, but then spend on right priority. It is not like you have spent, you were said that okay, spend all the money and you just spent everything on one thing, right? You just spent everything on building a college, you spent everything on building hospital facilities. You have to prioritize and diversify your funds so that everything gets attention and is in accordance with their priorities, in accordance with their needs, the time of need and their priorities. That should also be aligned, and proper research and study should be done for that. And then ultimately strengthening governance and efficiency in health system, because if governance is not strengthened, people will still feel like they can do anything to the patients. They will still feel like they don't have to treat patients better. So they will still agree to the fact that okay, nobody is going to do anything about this, governance never works, so let's take benefit out of it, right? Yeah. Clear? Okay. We will be spending entirely on this, right? Spending the entirely allocated budget, we should be doing that. I have listed the reasons and consequences here, you can read that. Second is spending right priorities. Neglected areas are there like prevention, public health, disease surveillance, that is listed here. Strengthening governance and efficiency, that also I have explained in detail here. Okay, this 4A, B, C that you can see is discussing all 3 points in details, right? Good enough? Okay. Then there is the importance of public health spending. What is the importance? Like what if we spend more? What will happen? The importance is that it improves immunization, maternal health, infant survival, life expectancy, all of that gets improved. It controls diseases and obviously provides financial protection also. So people are not scared of it now, right? Returns are highest only when governance is strong. Very simple. Returns are highest when governance is strong. Very good statement, right? For your mains, very good statement for your mains notebook. Add this there. Results are better when governance is good. Very simple. Isn't that so? Yes? Alright. You can write this. Returns are highest only when governance is strong and spending is efficient. This point in itself is very good for you. Then coming on to the next thing, that is strengthening primary health care. Why primary health care? Because they're saying that you start from the beginning. You start from the beginning when the person is a child, and not just a child in the word, child in the womb as well. So first of all, you start protecting this womb. To protect this womb, you would have to nurture the mother. To nurture the mother, you would have to give them better nutrition so that they don't lack. Like if they have large scale iron deficiency, child is bound to suffer. And it is not just mother. There is one misconception that father has no role to play in it, and only mother is going to give the nutrition to the child. Very wrong opinion that we have, very wrong misconception that we have, is because people don't understand how, you should be getting a child, Why so? Because we all remember the 9 months of mother, right? The 9 months of mother, the 9 months of good eating, good habits of mother. Everybody remembers that. She has to live a kind of particular lifestyle, eat particular kinds of things, curb the cravings, and lead a very difficult life around these 9 months. But everybody forgot, especially according to the Ayurveda, especially according to the Indian history, everybody has forgotten one other part of parenting, one other part of birth. That is, before the mother gets impregnated, the father has to live like that for at least 9 months as well. Right? Because the genes that father is providing, in that also there are lot of efficiencies and deficiencies altogether. It is up to you what you want to give to your child. Right? If it had to be only dependent upon mother, every child would be like mother. There would have been no traces of father in the child. There would have been no traces in the looks, habits, gestures, language, lifestyle. Nowhere would you have seen anything related to father. But is that true? No. We look at it and we see that there are traces of father in a child, like the looks are there, nose, eyes, something is there of the father, and then the habits also, right? Those traces, how do they come then? If you think that there is no impact caused by father, how do they come? There is a large scale impact. Everybody remembered the 9 months of mother, everybody forgot the 9 months of father. That father has to work towards it to prepare himself so that whenever the genes are passed on, they are very good, in a very fine shape. You do the physical work, you maintain your body, you eat healthy diet, you do that for 9 months, only then you are able to provide for a good child. Right? And those traces definitely show up in a child. Right? But that is the problem. What they're saying is that we are not prepared for that. Health and wellness centers are there, better maternal care is there. You start from there, you start from the maternal care, then child nutrition. Child is malnutritioned. If parents are malnutritioned, obviously child will be malnutritioned. Where would the child get extra resources from? Obviously they cannot get that, right? So naturally they will be malnutrition, then the risk of diseases would be higher. That means their immunity will be low. If immunity is low, obviously the risk will be higher, and not just the risk of disease catching, the risk of death by disease is also very high because you're not able to fight it off, right? So it all begins from here and ultimately creates a healthy population, right? Is that clear? Yeah. So for all this, what do we need? First of all, we need better governance and better health outcomes, transparency and accountability, efficient procurement and timely fund release, digital monitoring and decentralized planning. Countries with better governance are obviously achieving better outcomes. So that is necessary. What are the government initiatives? What has the government done so far? Ayushman Bharat, yes, Ayushman Bharat, we know all about that. National Health Mission, we know all about that. Then PM Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission also, right? The Ayushman Bharat Financial Protection Mission and then Infrastructure Mission is also there. The National Digital Health, digital IDs, EHRs, telemedicine, then Mission Indradhanush, the universal immunization, right? India's challenges then, if we are to do this, what are the challenges that we are facing at the time? Low public expenditure, high out-of-pocket expenditure, right? That is 45 to 50% is your out-of-pocket expenditure. Government is not taking care of that. Government is not taking care of that. 45 to 50% you have to spend from your own pocket, right? Inadequate assurance coverage. Any insurance coverage, they are always trying to get out of it. Any insurance coverage in India, it doesn't have a blanket provision. It doesn't have a blanket provision. Everybody is doing whatever they can. And we really need to regularize that, because many a time they try to trick the people who don't know much. They will ask them to sign, okay, you will get 1 crore cover, and you'll find it, everybody will be like, oh, 1 crore cover, very nice. But in the fine print, they have listed so many reasons to back out. If you smoke, will back out. If you drink, will back out. If after this you have a child, the policy will be nullified. So many things in the fine print that the common man doesn't know, and nobody tells them. And later on, whom would you keep fighting? Like, there is no proof what you were told and what you were not told, because every proof lies in that paper. But you are not even allowed to read that paper, and they're very quick into doing this, into manipulating people to sign it even before they've read the entire paper to understand what they are getting into. A lot of insurance frauds are happening like that, right? So even insurance is not that good here, because a basic coverage should be given, that these are the basic facilities every insurance company should provide. There should be no such fine prints that allow you to back out later on, right? If there are, then the person will still get the money and you will be closed down. There are no strict actions like that. That's why these things keep happening. And then hospitals are obviously lesser here. Rural urban disparities are there. Equipment shortages are there. So all these challenges obviously frame for deeper and deeper requirements, right? Yeah. And today, non-communicable diseases, as we know, are rising by the day. And earlier we were focused on TB, cholera and these communicable diseases, right? Our primary focus was there. Our healthcare was designed according to that. Now, non-communicable diseases and lifestyle diseases like BP, sugar, diabetes, right? All these problems are rising. Lifestyle diseases. BP is a lifestyle disease. Your lifestyle has created that, and your lifestyle can control that. These are lifestyle diseases, non-communicable diseases. That is what is rising in India today. Obesity is rising, BP is rising, thyroid in women, inflammation. These are, getting chronic by the day. They're getting chronic, and we are not paying attention to that because we just think that it is non-communicable. So only one person will die from that. No. Even if it is non-communicable, most of your population is still suffering from that. So we need to pay attention to non-communicable diseases now. That is our way forward. Clear? Done. This is our article regarding the health system and better public spending. Like, what do we need to do? What are the challenges and how Indian system is working? Very nice study on that. Very nice study on that. Definitely good content for your answer, right? If you're asked anything about the healthcare system and the presiding health issues of India, this is the article for you. Beautifully written, large coverage, excellent, right? Alright, moving forward to the next article, that is analyzing Supreme Court's judgment on sex work. So this is not something that is recent, but article came on that and I thought let's discuss it once again. So on 29th of May, this is like way before May, June, July, August, so a judgment came forward on sex workers. Okay, let's talk about that. A rights-based framework has been created here by the Supreme Court judgment. That is, in right-based structures should be given to sex workers also. Even if they are sex workers, they have chosen a profession, and while legalizing it is on a different level, but still protection should still be there. Right-based framework is their rights-based perspective rather than treating sex work solely as human trafficking issue, right? Not every sex worker is getting human trafficked. Some of them have chosen it, and well, life makes you choose it, obviously. Nobody tries to choose that, but at the same time, if they are not objecting it, it is not human trafficking. So let's not look at everything like everybody sitting here has been trafficked, everybody has been brought down here through human trafficking. That's not necessary. Right? That's not necessary. So let's not put a blanket view on it. Then consent and rescue. It holds that consenting adult sex workers cannot be forcibly rescued. If they don't want to be rescued, you cannot go like, oh, you are in trouble, let me rescue you, and they'll be like, oh man, we are happy here. What are you rescuing us from? If they don't want to be rescued, you leave them alone. You don't do a forcible, because generally what has been happening is wherever police went and everybody, any active worker went, right, any activist went, they all thought that everybody needs a rescue. That was their image, that they thought that, okay, let's go there and rescue them because they are living such a horrible life. How can we do that to a human? They don't want to be rescued. They've taken up for that life and they're happy there. You might not be able to understand why, but they are happy. Some of them are, and they don't want to be rescued, so you cannot forcibly like come, oh, we are rescuing you. You're not actually rescuing them, you're arresting them. Because there was nothing to rescue them from, right? So the opinion has been changed here. Just imagine this, that court is saying if they don't need to be rescued, don't want to be rescued, leave them. You cannot forcibly rescue them. Any state intervention should begin by establishing consent. If they give you the consent that, okay, help us out, only then you help them out, otherwise leave them alone. Constitutional protection is there. It affirms that sex workers retain constitutional rights regardless of social disapproval. Social disapproval doesn't matter to the Constitution. Constitution has still given you every right. So if your rights are violated, feel free to reach out. The confidence that court has given them, right? The separation of concept rejects conflation of voluntary migration and trafficking, or acknowledging that agencies and vulnerability can coexist, right? Yeah. They can go hand in hand and it is totally fine. The legal enforcement, it invokes Article 142 of the Constitution, gives legal force to the directives also. And it also identified the paradoxes and omissions. There's a lack of attribution. While adopting argument built over decades by sex workers and collectives, that is the National Network of Sex Workers, judgment does not explicitly credit these groups. They are not actually identifying them, and they're not even giving credit to the groups that are actually working hard towards it. And institutional faith, if we talk about, it assumes updated legal standards will automatically reform the police and judicial behavior. It doesn't do that. They are still going to behave the same way, right? Just because you've created a law regarding that doesn't mean everything changes overnight. Their behavior needs to be changed, those trainings need to be given, and we need to have deeply entrenched biases removed, right? Exactly. Then caste and bureaucracy is there. They're recognizing that caste as a push factor into sex work, but overlook that caste discrimination is actively shaping the bureaucratic and judicial system also, right? Yeah, so we're only looking at one side of the picture, we're not looking at the other side. That is a problem here. Unexamined rescue industry calls for the shelter home reforms without scrutinizing the NGOs, funding structures, financial incentives, right? If you're rescuing them, you will take them somewhere, right? Where will you put them? Because socially they won't be acceptable. People are still not going to accept them. If our society is not ready to accept them. You will have to put them in some nurturing home or adult, old age home or somewhere you will go. If you don't have the funding, financing, structures, anything related to that, how exactly are you going to give them a better rescue? First, you should work on that. Create a rescue place where you are going to take them, give them a better life there. Otherwise, it is just forcible coercion, nothing else, right? Yeah. Then priorities of the road ahead: center sex workers and implementation. Sex worker union must lead implementation by drafting guidelines, training the police, establishing shelter standards, include them in the system. If you are so ready to accept them, include them in the system, they will tell you better, right? Yeah. Then accountability for anti-trafficking NGOs, increase scrutiny and accountability over NGOs also that are involved in coercive rescues. You can challenge their funding and legal immunity and ask them to do it better. They should have some accountability. Just because it is an NGO and just because it is rescuing these people doesn't mean they are doing it for good reasons. Doesn't mean they are not going to treat them even worse. You have to establish that accountability to make sure that this doesn't happen. Then leverage the existing welfare systems also. Enable the sex workers to access India's existing social welfare programs, right, as rights-bearing citizen, rather than relying on the punitive shelter home systems, right? They should have the option to access the legal system if something happens. They should not feel like, oh, hamari kaun sunega. That is not something that should be done, right? Yeah. They also have the right, they're also humans, regardless of everything, they're humans and they should be treated like one. What do you say about, ma'am, a specific community work? Exactly. You can't fix something that's not broken. That's such a beautiful saying and quite accurate here. Very nice. There are communities, even in Rajasthan you will see that there is this one community that is very famous, okay, very famous for the fact that they want girl child. They hope for a girl child and they cry when they get a boy. Sounds strange, right? While the rest of the India is crying while they get a girl. Like not everybody, just saying that there is still a practice of it, like gender preference is still a practice in India, and in that generally male child is preferred, right? But there is this community that cries when a boy child is born and they're very happy and they dance around and have celebrations when a girl child is born. Why? Because every single girl child is gonna go into sex work. Nobody is asking for a male child, but for a female everybody is asking. Right? Yeah, so it happens. Sorry. All right, this was the article. Moving on to the next article, that is mounting rupee US dollar exchange rate pressure weighs on trade. Exchange rate slump has been there. Rupee steadily depreciated by 9% against US dollar, dropping from 87.5 per dollar in July 2025 to 95.4 in July 2026. This is our current structure now. How can these type of practice can be stopped for a specific community? See, it has been going on since ages. It has been going on since ages and they continue doing it today. And they do it with all the pride. It is not like they're doing it out of necessity or out of the fact that, okay, we don't have money or nobody is accepting us. No. It is a practice. It is a trend. It is a tradition. And that is widely acceptable among them. Right? That's what I'm saying. Opinions can be different. Now, if you go and start rescuing these girls, they will say that you are kidnapping their women rather than thinking that you are rescuing them. That is what I'm trying to point out here. If you go about and rescue those girls, the parents will think that you're kidnapping their girls rather than rescuing them. They would think that you're taking away their asset. That is how point of view may differ, right? That's what we're talking about. But won't regulating NGO more could in fact at the back end could lead to rise in bureaucratic security for crime arising for the sector. So yes, that would be good, right? If you have more governance stronghold, that is good. Yes, yes, yes. Parents provide better lifestyle choices to girls just so they can be monetized through sex work. Exactly, 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 exactly. That these things keep happening. All right. Okay, moving on to the article where we talk about the depreciation of the money. There were certain articles in the text and context also. Earlier I've given you articles to read about it, right? Now we are discussing this. Real decline is there. The real effective exchange rate has also declined. It fell by 9%, 10.6% in April, 11.7% in May, making rupee one of the global worst performing currencies. Second only to Japanese yen. The last one is Japanese yen, and before that there is Indian rupee. That is the decline, right? Yeah. What are the primary drivers for this pressure? US trade tariffs, geopolitical shocks, foreign capital outflows. Foreign portfolio investors have pulled 13.1 billion in March alone. Because the economy is not doing good, because the market keeps crashing, naturally they won't keep their money there. FDIs are stuck, but FPIs are not, right? We do know the difference between FIIs and FDIs. FPI is a type of FII, not FDI, right? For an institutional investment, foreign portfolio investment, they are very fragile, they are very volatile, they can jump out anytime, even further declining our market, right? That's what was done in this case, right? Clear? Yeah. Then there is an impact on trade and industry. Heavy import dependence, roughly 36% of India's exports, they depend directly on imported raw material. And if we are dependent upon imports, naturally our rupee will keep getting depreciated, because for import, you have to do currency exchange. For currency exchange, you lose that much amount of your foreign currency, your foreign regulation band, right? Yeah. Then widening trade deficit, also import growth has happened, but still trade deficit is there. And at the same time, the Q1 deficit expansion is there. The merchandise trade deficit widened further in first quarter rather than performing good. Clear? That's all we needed to know about this, that why rupee has fallen, what are the primary drivers here, and what is the current situation. All right. It is doing bad. Yes, it is doing bad, but it is because of foreign, mainly the reasons you can see. There is nothing regarding what India can do apart from the fact that we can be self-dependent, more self-dependent. There is nothing else we can do, because it is not the inflation that has been caused, the depreciation that has been caused is not because of indigenous reasons, it is because of the global reasons that are out of our control, right? Exactly. Is that clear? All right. Last news for the day. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched Nasha Mukt Yuva for Viksit Bharat Sankalp Abhiyan, calling upon everybody to join this, right? This PIB release is talking about the Nasha Mukti Yuva for Viksit Bharat Sankalp Abhiyan. What are the highlights here? This is from PIB, the news is from PIB. Initiative name and ministry. The Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sport is associated here. Okay. Nationwide reach, over 1 crore youth across 28,000 plus locations have joined the virtual launch event and took a pledge for drug-free India. Already this has been done. 100-week action plan. How much of the time deadline? 100-week action plan, outline of a 100-week roadmap, where every upcoming Sunday That is 100 Sundays equal 100 strong steps will feature organized activities across sports, art, culture, meditation, etc. Origin and foundation, national program expanded from a pilot project that started in Kashi. First this was pilot tested and now we are doing it in pan India, right? Supported by over 125 spiritual organizations, NGOs under Kashi Declaration. Under Kashi Declaration, please remember this. Generally for prelims, a very simple question would come, what is Kashi Declaration, right? Which of these statements is true about Kashi Declaration, and they'll give you 4 statements. You'll have to see what is it, associated with. It is associated with drug control. Yes, very simple, very direct question. Is that clear? Why are you laughing at that? Like, for Nasha Mukti, that's why. The irony, are you pointing out the irony or what? Digital mobilization is there, driven through My Bharat platform. Right, from there this has been run alongside NSS members, youth volunteers, fostering nationwide Jan Bhagidari. Clear? Yeah. The core objectives here, the core directives, role in the Viksit Bharat, stress that reaching a developed nation status by 2047 requires physically healthy, mentally robust and self-confident younger generation. They should be free from substance abuse, right? Yeah. Then destigmatization and rehabilitation, calling for societal empathy instead of saying, oh, nashedi. No, don't do that. Instead of that, you empathize with them because that is out of their control. They were handed it over in the peer pressure by friends, by somebody, and now they cannot get rid of it and they are struggling with it. So have some empathy for them, have some sympathy for them, right? Empathize and emphasize that youth emerging from addiction are real warriors, right? They are warriors who are working very hard to leave behind the addictions. So leave the social stigma and actually support them in the process. There's an appeal to the academia as well, directives issued to college, university, faculty so that they can integrate drug awareness discussions into regular academic curricula and launch campus level anti-addiction drives also. So in colleges, universities, you will soon see that many drives are being taken out. Government enforcement is there, reaffirmed ongoing nationwide law enforcement on crackdowns, highlighted that record drug seizures have happened worth thousands of crores, targeting drug trafficking in India. We are doing all that, but at the same time, we need support from every single individual out there, whether you are drug addicted or not. If you are drug addicted, we need your support to come and participate in this so we can help you quit. If you are not drug addicted, we want you to come as volunteers and help others quit. In any which way, every single youth of the nation should participate in this for framing a better India, right? Yeah, actors and cricketers. Well, do they eat? Do they eat? Do you really think Katrina Kaif uses Lux soap? Do you really think the actors who are going from this to this are actually consuming Vimal Pan? Do you really think they're doing that? Do you really think Shilpa Shetty giving the ad of Maggie is really consuming Maggie? Just look at her. Do you think that comes from Maggie? That is just advertisement. They're being paid to be actors. That is their profession. Don't link it to their consumption. Right? Be smarter than that. They're not saying you to eat. They're acting. They're acting very well. That's why it is convincing. So they're good actors. This is an article for you to read. Why are government schools shutting down? A very good case study regarding government schools where it is going wrong. Okay. That's why they're only talking about drugs. All right, read this one, okay? Just go and read this one. Let's solve our questions then. Number 1 question. IITs and IIMs have been instructed to carry on voluntary urine test for. Well, you cannot force them yet, can you? Until and unless government advises on that, they cannot really force. This would bring down on fundamental rights and will create chaos. Understand the practicality of everything. Don't just start criticizing like a common man. You're not a common man. I expect better from you. Okay. Think like an administrator, like whether you can force people to do something or not without a government intervention. All right. Solve the question now. All right. The answer is D, 1, 2 and 3. Very nice. Second question. All right, second answer B, very nice. Next question. Gene editing and genome editing. All right. Third answer A, 1 and 2 only. Third is wrong. Very nice. Fourth number question. There is no number on this. All right. Fourth answer C, 1 and 3 only. Very nice. This is the mains question for the day. Take a screenshot. Try to attempt this question. Done? All right. That was our paper for the day. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you had fun learning the Hindu newspaper with us. We'll see you tomorrow again at 8:30 a.m. Till then.